Welcome back to One Bills Live. Steve Tasker along with Maddie Glad, broadcasting from our homes, and we are stoked, thrilled to have our next guest on with us, head coach of the Buffalo Bills, Sean McDermott. Sean, Steve Tasker, and Maddie Glad, thanks for coming on with us. I know you're busy today. Thanks for taking time.
Oh, thanks for having me. Good to be on with you guys, and congrats to Maddie on her first week on the job here.
Very nice, yeah.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, how's this day going for you? I know you did a big Zoom meeting with the local media, and Maddie was on for just a little bit. How tough is it to show leadership to a bunch of guys who are scattered all over the country, and you're doing it on a Zoom meeting? I mean, a lot of us have had to work remotely, but it's got to be doubly important and doubly difficult for you as the guy who all these guys are looking to from across the country.
Well, it is. It's a challenge, and I'm sure I'm not in any unique situation as in terms of the coaches in the league going through. We're all going through the same situation, and so it's a leadership challenge, Steve. And but at the same time, there's you kind of, from a leadership standpoint, you kind of expect the unexpected from year to year in the NFL, and this one I would say is not one that I expected in terms of the COVID situation. But at the same time, certainly with my staff and our players finding a way through this, and with the hopes and the goal of us coming back together at some point and putting a good team on the field.
Coach, this past week has been a pretty eye-opening week for all of us in America with the racial injustice going on, a lot of the protests that we've seen from George Floyd being murdered, as well as a lot of other people that people are protesting for. And even here in Western New York, I know you agree that racial injustice and racial inequality has no place in Buffalo or in America. So what's your reaction to what's been going on, and how have you had some of those conversations with your players? I know when you spoke to the media, you said you guys all met together, but you also wanted to make sure that you were able to listen to what your players had to say.
Right, and so if number one, I'm disappointed, as I mentioned earlier on the earlier call, Maddie, that you were on, and I wanted our players to know that we support them, and we understand that this hits very close to home. Listen, it hits close to home for the entire world, I'm sure, and it's certainly a national tragedy in the United States as well, and that the point to the players was that I'm going to do my best to learn and educate myself and our team, and certainly be here to listen. And I think our staff, is showing that and displaying that as well. Not just myself, but our staff, and then take that information and look to lead with it, and then making sure that we always love, because that's what we're called to do. That's what I believe in, and that's a lot of what I do is based upon the foundation that my faith has given me, and but it's also, in this case, I think a bonding quality that and a unifying quality that our nation needs, and we've built our team with that. And so my hope is that our team can be a good snapshot of what our country should look like.
Yeah, as we've all been locked down and quarantined for a couple of months now, there is a loosening of the grip. We hear now the NBA has got a plan to get back onto the court and start playing games. The NHL is starting to grind towards having a shortened season as well. Major League Baseball the same, and states are starting to move, open up. Even Western New York has gone to phase 2 yesterday. So we just heard that it's probably not going to be, or there's definitely not going to be, a training camp at St. John Fisher. How good or bad is that for the Buffalo Bills? Certainly you guys have to feel like you're closer now with the new weight room and the new training facility, that you're better set up to have a training camp at New Era Field than you've ever been.
Well, we are, and that's a credit to leadership and Terry and Kim and what they've the resources they've committed to the new training facility. So that definitely works to our advantage. But Steve, that I do enjoy going to training camp. Brandon and I both believe in going to training camp. I think St. John Fisher is a great venue for it. It is good to connect with our fan base up there, and to have many people take a day from the Buffalo area and travel there as well to enjoy the experience of training camp in Rochester. So, and the other thing I would add is I think it's although not many teams do it still anymore like we do, there is to me there's a real bonding element to going away to training camp, and so we'll do our best to supplement that with things when we're back home here, having training camp in our facility. But we're not at a loss from a resources standpoint by not being able to go away to training camp. It's again, we're thankful that we have the facility we do, and that should help us as we go through the next couple of months here.
Coach, speaking of team bonding, I know that that's an important part of being in Rochester and at St. John Fisher during camp, but bonding with the Zoom meetings, now that you've had quite a few weeks of Zoom meetings and have been able to pop into a few position meetings, like you said, how have you seen the team start to bond together, and even some of these new players who have started to meet some of their teammates for the first time in a virtual setting?
Well, Maddie, that's been the challenge. I mean, it's as we all have experienced firsthand with the Zoom meetings, as good as they are, and the technology is just phenomenal, and I'm blown away by it. Having said that, nothing takes the place of the interaction that you have when you're with one another, and the time where you get kind of off grid, where you can just spend that time in between meetings, hanging out, playing cards, competing, kind of shooting hoops, whatever. And that's the part that we're missing right now. But I'll say this: our staff, our players have done a really nice job in finding a way to get through this. And one of our goals was in this off season was to try and continue to bring our team together. And so we've tried to find different ways to do that. And our staff have done a phenomenal job in doing that. And our players have really embraced it.
We're talking with Sean McDermott here on One Bills Live. Steve Tasker and Matty Glab. I want to know, too, you've used your resources to have different people come to the team virtually. Peyton Manning jumped on a Zoom meeting. What was his message to the entire team? And also, I know that Josh Allen was particularly inspired by what he had to say.
Right, Steve. Yeah, Peyton pretty much spoke on the offensive side of the ball, and then with the quarterback. So he didn't address the whole team necessarily, but and I honestly wasn't on that call, but I did get word of what he said, and I have a relationship with Peyton, and he's first class all the way, and it was what you'd expect. I won't go into detail too much, but just the wisdom, the experience, his perspective on things. And the level at which he shared, when you're able to watch, the last dance of Jordan, you're able to appreciate the elite level and standard by which a guy like Peyton Manning played the game, and the way he trained to get himself to that level. There's only one Jordan, but at the same time, there's only one Peyton Manning, and I know going against him, he's a heck of a guy to coach against, and a tough competitor. So, but we've had others as well, and it's a real credit to our players, to our program, the amount of people that have been willing to jump on with our club and educate us, educate our players. I mean, and we've done the same with coaches. We've gotten on with some of the coaches around the league, or coaches who have been in the league. Some greats, Mike Ditka. We've been with Joe Gibbs. I've been dialoguing with Dick Vermeil as well. So what you find is guys that are still coaching aren't always open to sharing. But in this case, really honored to be on with those coaches and them helping me and helping our staff grow during these times.
Coach, with the phrase find a way, your players were able to do just that. Your offensive players, about 20 of them, met together in Florida to find a way to train together when the coaches essentially aren't allowed to touch that aspect of the game right now because the offseason has been held in a virtual setting. To see this come together and your players to lead this and Josh Allen to lead this and to cultivate the guys to stay in the same hotel, to train in the same place, and to see on social media the pictures come together from this, does that ease your mind a little bit of how this team has been able to connect and to build chemistry and just the importance of getting that passing game timing down and finding a way to at least spend a few days in the offseason to do that before training camp starts?
Well, it does. I wish there was a little bit more what appears to be social distancing going on, Maddie. But having said that, yeah, I mean, we're going into year 3 and you're now year 4, and also in Josh's development from a leadership standpoint, that's a critical step. And it does give me a little bit of peace of mind knowing that he, as well as some of the other players on offense in particular, in this case, have taken the bull by the horns and the ownership necessary to lead our football team, and that's important as a team. That it's not just the head coach's mission or purpose that we're on, but together it's our mission. And so in this case, those guys have taken great ownership, and I certainly appreciate that.
Coach, we've been talking on the radio about some of the benefits or the hidden benefits of what could come out of this pandemic. We thought one of the things that the Bills might benefit from was continuity. You've got the same key core players. You've got both coordinators back. A lot of the same quality coaches, plus with Eric Washington's addition, I know you and Brandon have talked about how you think now in year 3 you're going to have your coaching staff tweaked, just dialed in just exactly the way you want it. Could this, who knows? I mean, there's a lot of football to be played, obviously, yet, but could this pandemic really serve the Buffalo Bills well in the long run?
I think it's what you make of it, Steve, just in terms of that. You mentioned the continuity. On one hand, we do have quite a bit of continuity, which is certainly not our first year together, which makes it life easier for us that way. Having said that, we do have a number of new free agents that we've signed this offseason who we have not yet even had in our building yet. So along with the rookie class. And so, look, there's going to be challenges for every team. And I just think that overall those that, want to sit around and complain and just find the negatives, you're going to be wasting your time. So our guys, I've been impressed with the attitude and the approach of our guys. They're finding a way to make things happen, and albeit we'd love to be doing it in person, what we need to do really more than anything is identify our challenges that are specific to us, and some of it is, getting our guys on board and those rookies and those new free agents that we signed in the veteran free agent period. How can we bring them together as we bring our team together? And so, our challenges in some ways are very alike to the rest of the teams in the league, but in other ways different. And so we've just got to take a positive mindset and attitude into finding a way to get this done, and our team has done that to this point.
Coach, this team in the last few years has had an underdog mentality, a count-us-out mentality that has kind of motivated them to do maybe more than national media has expected. But now in this season, with what national media is expecting out of the Bills and the AFC East favorite name is being thrown around, I know you've said we can't be that until we dethrone the best. But how has the underdog mentality worked in your favor? And being the hunted versus the hunter, where do you see your team entering year 2020?
Yeah, Maddie, regardless, I think you know me well enough, and Steve knows me well enough as well, that I'm always going to be taking that humble and hungry approach. That's something I grew up with, and that's part of my personality, and I hope our team's personality. So, but I think that's healthy, regardless of what people expect us to do, whether they expect us to win, 1 game, 2 games, or 11, 12 games. that we know what comes with that, and what comes with that humble and hungry approach is an attitude and a motivation to work hard. Because just like in life, the NFL is no different. You don't get, or you get what you put in, and you get out of it what you put into it. And so we've got a lot of work to do. We embrace that. We acknowledge that. And that's been, quite honestly, one of the hardest parts of this is we do have a good amount of trust built up, which is important for our team. But there's just a lot of things that are, with the players being more than an arm's length away from us right now, it's been unnerving at times. But at the end of the day, as you mentioned earlier, Maddie, with the action Josh Allen took and the offense took last week, that's helped me sleep a little bit better at night.
Yeah, and all of us are, none of us can predict the future, and all of us are just as far away from it as everybody else is. But we do see a loosening up and of the parameters in which we all live under with this pandemic. And there is a chance, and who knows what it's going to look like when the season does begin. And I do believe there is going to be a season that when it does begin, maybe fans won't be able to watch live or in person. Do you have any ideas, or maybe have you given it much thought, concrete thought, as to how that will change game day? Obviously, home field advantage is going to be much, much different than it has been in the past. What are your thoughts about maybe having a season with no fans?
Well, that won't be ideal. Simply because this is to me the greatest sport in America, and I know our fan base as well. To your point, Steve, about the home field advantage. Playing in Buffalo is different than playing in most other stadiums, primarily because of our fans and the environment they help us create. Having said that, look, we're professionals, and we're tasked with the job of putting our best foot forward and being prepared, and whether we play at home or away, doing our best to execute our job at a high level, at a professional level. And so I would expect the same from our players. And when we get that far, if that's the case, then I'm confident that we'll adjust, and our players will be ready to adjust to do that as well.
Sean, thanks so much. I know it's been a busy day, and I'm glad you're able to come on with us. It's great hearing from you. I hope you guys get a lot of good football work done, even though you can't be in the same room. Thanks for coming on, Sean. We wish you all the best.
Awesome, guys. Awesome to be with you guys, and stay safe, and can't wait to see everyone in person here, hopefully in the next couple of weeks.